Like maybe the Waltons, they were like, good night, John boy. And they just loved these cards because they spoke to them in some way. I mean, I don't even know all the people on the Waltons, but it just seems like a card that the Waltons would like. I thought maybe the Brady Bunch might like some of these, but then I was like, no, they were total suburbanites. They would never like these cards. And then I thought, okay, well, who else would like these cards? And then I was like, Little House on the Prairie. Right? Laura Ingalls Wilder wants one of these cards. I'm telling you. Laura and Pa, they all want them. Except Nellie. She can't have them. And I don't like her curls. Nobody can have curls like that. But if Laura Ingalls Wilder was like starving in the freaking Little House on the Prairie, then how could she have freaking ringlets that look that perfect? It's just not real. It's not realistic. It's sick and wrong. Welcome back to What the Craft, Jax. I'm your host, Jax, and I'm going to walk you through some artist trading cards I created. I pulled out some mat board and cut that to artist trading card size and pulled out my Tim Holtz Distress inks in vintage photo, walnut stain, and antique linen. And you can see here I have my mini distress inks taped together on one side so that's a little bit easier for me to keep them together, keep them closed, and travel with them when I need to. It's pretty handy. I am taking the ink and I'm placing it on a piece of acetate, some leftover packaging I had laying around, and I spritz it with water and I just smush the mat board on top of the ink. And I started with vintage photo, and then I took an ink blender and I took my walnut stain and I blended that around all of the edges of every card, making sure that all the edges were covered completely. And I just wanted to get a good coating of ink on the cards because these cards are going to be a little bit more vintagey, I guess, than what I typically create. But I really wanted to see how the Distress inks worked with the Distress Oxide inks because, well, I don't know, why not, right? This was actually really good practice on how to blend because I'm not the best blender sometimes, and you can see my circles and stuff, so this really gave me the opportunity to practice. Yeah, I'm just kind of like rubbing the card along the ink pad just so I don't have to like use the sponge. And then I got them all in a line and I spritzed them with some water just to give them a little bit of reaction. And I'm taking the cards and I'm picking up the remaining pieces of water droplets that are left on my acetate, and I'm making sure that the cards are dry before I move on. I take out my Distress Oxide inks and I take my fired brick and I place that on the acetate and spritz it with water and smush that Distress Oxide onto the cards. But I took the Graphic 45 Home Sweet Home 2 collection stamps. And I totally dig these stamps because it just kind of gives you the feel that you're like on the farm and like you have like goats and chickens and cows and stuff. I took part of that stamp set. I used the tag and polka dot stamps to kind of give it some texture in the background. And then I pulled out every kind of color that I possibly had of a Distress Oxide inks, and I like took all my stamps and I just stamped the crap out of all these cards. And you can see like even on the milk carton, I started with a different color stamp and then I decided, oh, I need to like follow that up with some black to kind of give it like a dual tone look. I mean, it has to look vintagey and farmy, right? So is farmy even a word? I don't even know, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm like going to town on these cards and using my rolling pin and my milk jug and my apple and my farm fresh eggs stamp, and I'm just like making sure that everybody thinks that these cards officially came from a farm where there were like farmers and farmer wives and cows and chickens and pigs and horses and straw and manure that smells super bad. Everybody that gets one of these cards is going to pick it up because they believe that they are naturally homegrown, meaning that they're probably organic and grass-fed and stuff. But then I take this other stamp that I think is the coolest stamp ever of this whole set, is like this old newspaper, and I made sure that the lady was on like every card because she's important. She makes it look like super farmy. And then I took my Wink of Stella glitter pen because you have to have a glitter pen on every single card, and if you don't, then it's not as fabulous. But I love my Wink of Stella glitter pen, and I used it and just outlined the naturally homegrown so people understood that they were glittery even though they were organic. And then I pulled out some super boring colored cranes and just to match the cards. And you can see that all the cards kind of look alike, but they're not. I just thought that the crane shouldn't take away from the farminess of the card. Yeah, and I did put a bunch of Wink of Stella on that brown crane, but I really, really liked the outcome of what happened on these cards. I mean, ultimately, I think they're beautiful, and I hope that the recipient that receives these cards really enjoys them and it speaks to them in some way. Thanks for joining me today. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to see what else I am up to, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and ring my bell, folks, to make sure that you receive an email every time I upload. Until next time, love you guts. Bye!